The nightmare in Gaza is now entering an atrocious, abominable second year. This has been a year of crisis: humanitarian crisis, political crisis, diplomatic crisis, and a moral crisis. Over the last year, following the horrific terror attacks perpetrated by Hamas on 7 October, Gaza has become ground zero to a level of human suffering that is hard to fathom. More than 41,000 people have been reportedly killed, mostly women and children. Thousands more are missing and believed to be trapped under the rubble. Virtually the entire population has been displaced, and no part of Gaza has been spared. Journalists have been killed at a level unseen in any conflict in modern times, and humanitarians, those who have dedicated their lives to helping others, are facing unprecedented epic dangers. A record number, including so many members of our UN family, have paid with their lives. The vast majority of those killed were part of the backbone of humanitarian relief operations in Gaza, UNRWA. In the midst of all the upheaval, UNRWA, more than ever, is indispensable. UNRWA, more than ever, is irreplaceable. That is why I've written directly to Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu to express profound concern about draft legislation that could prevent UNRWA from continuing its essential work in the occupied Palestinian territory. Such a measure would suffocate efforts to ease human suffering and tensions in Gaza and indeed the entire occupied Palestinian territory. Without UNRWA, many health, education, and social services would also end in the occupied West Bank, including East Jerusalem. If approved, such legislation would be diametrically opposed to the UN Charter and in violation of Israel's obligations under international law. National legislation cannot alter those obligations. And politically, such legislation would be an enormous setback to sustainable peace efforts and to a two-state solution, fanning even more instability and insecurity. This draft legislation comes at a situation in which Gaza is in a death spiral. The latest developments in the north are especially dire. We are witnessing a clear intensification of military operations by Israel. Residential areas have been attacked, hospitals ordered to evacuate, and electricity cut off, with no fuel or commercial goods allowed in. Around 400,000 people are being pressed yet again to move south to an area that is overcrowded, polluted, and lacking the basics for survival. Consider the situation for a family in the Jabalia refugee camp in the north. They were ordered to leave their homes in October 2023. Active operations subsided, and they returned. They were once again ordered to evacuate in December 2023. Active operations subsided, and they returned. They were ordered again to evacuate in May 2024. Active operations subsided, and they returned. And just these months, they were once again ordered to evacuate. The conclusion is clear. There is something fundamentally wrong in the way this war is being conducted. I've warned for months of the risks of the conflict spreading, and the Middle East is a powder keg with many parties holding the match. The situation in the occupied West Bank is boiling over, and now in Lebanon, attacks, including on civilians, are threatening the entire region. Over the last few days, exchanges of fire between Hezbollah and others in Lebanon and the Israel Defense Forces have intensified across the blue line in total disregard of Security Council Resolution 1701 and 1559. Large-scale Israeli strikes deep into Lebanon, including Beirut, have killed more than 2,000 people over the last year and 1,500 in just the past 2 weeks alone.